Hey, Natsu here. So, today is going to be part 2 of What If Deku found the omnitrix. In the last part, I explained how between the age of 10 and basically the start of the anime, which is about 4 years, if I remember correctly, since by the time Deku is 15, he's entering the UA, so yeah. Deku and Melissa basically over time became a lot closer, just from what I said in the last part. You can pretty much guess that. So, this part and the next part are actually going to be basically the in between time and basically what they did. All the invention that are basically going to be for, well, Melissa, as well as the training Deku does, and the 3 new aliens he gets, as well as the training he does with him to learn all of its power. So, first of all, Deku basically got something pretty special. Let's just say it like that. So, after basically a while of Deku and Melissa meeting a lot and basically talking and doing a lot more stuff, basically, Thomas, well, basically decided to kind of change, well, actually help Deku basically go to a better school. Basically giving the money for Inko to basically put him in a school for people that are actually super intelligent. Basically placing him in the same school as Melissa. In contrast, since Melissa is 2 years older, stuff still kind of happen a bit differently. But something that's going to happen pretty much weirdly is that even if she's 2 years older, she's still going to be in the same class as Deku, 1A. Which, the reason I actually do that is pretty simple. They're kind of going to go out together. Basically, it's going to, well, their feelings are going to grow over time, and basically, before even 2 years have passed, like, before it's even halfway through to the start of the anime, Deku and Melissa are already together. When Melissa would be supposed to actually go to, well, UA for being older, something happens. Which is basically that she doesn't want to go without Deku. Which makes Thomas and, well, Nezu basically do a compromise. So for now, that's all I'm going to say about it. So, okay. After basically the last moment, which was in the last part, basically, in the next month, basically, what happened was that Deku and Melissa invented multiple different things. Special rocket boots, which are pretty useful if you think about it, since Okay. Since what they basically use them for is to give Melissa a lot more speed. Basically trying to give her kind of the same speed as Deku has when in different transformations. Not accelerate because he's way faster than, well, her. But still, she basically has an extreme speed compared to most people. Basically, think of the speed that she can get to as what Ida can do. Except that the difference is that the reason she's able to do that is because of boots with rollers under it and basically a jet engine. Well, not really jet engine, but some small engines to basically do it kind of the same way. They don't know Ida, but they basically have made that. So they basically made one for both her and Deku so that they would be able to actually have more fighting capacity. Mostly because when he's not in, well, monster form, as he called him, he's just a normal human. Which both him and Melissa decided to train, basically, but that's going to come in a bit later. But for now, basically, what's happening is that they are kind of just inventing stuff to help them become heroes. Equipment, trying to upgrade the watch, which doesn't happen. But still, basically they're trying to think of how they would be able to upgrade it. How Deku's transformations are all pretty unique. Each of them able to do specific things. Like Heat Blast, able to basically throw fire and control fire. They found out he could fly by or sending massive amount of flame from his feet and his hands in the same direction, as well as being able to fly by sending fire on the ground and controlling a piece of the ground itself. So, after that, they also noted that the amount of energy the conductory, basically because Deku kind of asked multiple times to the omnitrix what species basically the transformations were. Well, basically just asking their name, which the omnitrix respond by saying conductory, pyrosapien, kinesileran, I don't remember the others for now. But yeah, basically he has the exact species, but he just thinks that they're neat names. Well, not really. He does think they're cool names, but he mostly sees them as what they are directly. So, for him, it's pretty simple. They're just aspects of what they can, of what the watch basically makes him, turning his entire body into something new to allow it to kind of just do more stuff. So he directly just goes and, tried to increase the strength of Melissa by creating special items that would kind of give her the same type of abilities, as well as making some for himself to do the same thing. I have to pause for a second, be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, so basically, after that month, and seeing all of the things that, well, Deku can do, mostly one of this transformation in particular, which is Brainstorm, which, if you know Ben 10, well, the cartoon, you know that this is one of the most intelligent species in basically their universe. Basically, they fight with the Galvins, trying to say no, we're more intelligent. But basically, the Galvins always seem to win, even though when Ben transforms into his well, brainstorm form. Basically, at one point, we see that Brainstorm has a huge IQ, and he's a perfect example of the species. So, we can't really put him as a decisive, well, high point of what the species can do. Well, yes, actually, but that's only for a perfect of Ben's age, which is still pretty intelligent. But then you have to think of two things. He is, in that form, still a perfect example of the species, which means that he knows a huge amount of things. If he actually needed to, he could probably just build stuff by himself quite easily. Problem is the material, which basically Melissa was providing basically 99% of the time. At some point, this is when Shield basically decided that Deku's too intelligent for the school he's going to. He should be put in basically a better school or a class with a better capacity to, well, teach him. So he basically asked Deku if he would like to go to a school that would be able to basically teach him more. Which Deku does accept. Melissa asks where he would like to put him, which he says, well, I wanted to switch you to another school, right? I can pay for both of you. And I'm pretty sure Inko would be okay with this. So, after basically talking over to Inko about it, Deku gets changed to another school, as well as Melissa, basically going to the same school. Still in the same region, but a school that's basically made for people that has some of the highest IQ possible. So, they basically get placed in school where they are recognized for their huge amount of IQ, and basically they ask what their quirks are, which, well, they don't really ask, they just look at what their quirks are and see that Deku, for his quirk, it's called transformation, which, seeing that, they think, oh, he can transform into anything he wants. When they ask him about it, he says that thanks to the watch, that's basically helping him control his quirk, he is able to transform into different form, which he shows them. Since Deku's not at the same school as Bakugou now, Bakugou goes back a bit to his old ways. During that month, basically where Deku was still at his old school, what he did, yeah, sorry about that, I'm trying to read it. But yeah, so what he did basically was just train his quirk to try and be better than Deku, whatever happens. Which basically won't happen for 3 reasons. First one is, no matter what transformation Deku will go to, he'll be the perfect example for what he is at. Which means, yeah, unless you're naturally stronger than one of his forms, you're never going to be stronger than it. Never. No matter the amount of training. Unless you basically age yourself faster. So, Deku then, well, after all of that, basically, in that school, he's able to do a lot more research. And thanks to being there, it's also a lot easier for him and Melissa to basically build stuff. Mostly, by this point, they have an entire, well, each of them have an entire suit, basically condensed in the same type of, well, basically in a red gauntlet. Deku on the other side of his body instead of where the watch is, because, well, there's the watch. But basically, each of them have a gauntlet that holds the entire suit. When they press it, it basically puts it around their entire body, basically making an armor. It does have a limit, but that's basically just the amount of charge you put in it, which it can hold a lot. Basically, they could fight for entire days in it, and the suit would basically only be out of battery near the end if they use it moderately. If they go all out with it, then it uses more power, and it basically takes out all of the charge faster, but normally they're able to keep a lot. Plus, if they want to charge it, it's basically just, well, they charge it. It takes a while though, but still. Unless Deku want to use one of his aliens. Those that control electricity are perfectly fine to charge it. So, after basically building all of the suit, Deku's still been training with the watch, which at some point while basically training, Deku basically looked through his aliens and saw a new one. It was different. So he pressed it. Melissa was with him and basically they were ready to go for training. One-on-one, her having the armor, and him just having one of his transformation at first. So, when he transformed into this new form, Deku decided to just try it. Melissa tried to attack him and basically use all of the things they have in their suits, which I'm finally going to explain. Firstly, the jet boots, to help them go faster. They have basically the capacity to use a specific amount of power. Basically, they can send shockwaves through, well, not really shockwaves, but more their punches and abilities in terms of strength inside of the suits can range from normal human strength to about stopping a car easily. Problem with that is that the more strength they use, the more energy it uses, so it basically just kind of becomes useless if you go too far. Since if you don't have enough battery anymore, yeah, you can't use it. So, what do? Quite simple. They just continue to do everything they did. Um, but just kind of limit what they can do. So, other things in the suits are... Okay, so on each arm, they basically have 3 modes. One mode is basically just hand. Another one is cannon, which basically what it does is just send blast of electricity, which you can put to extremely low, which basically just becomes like a taser, to extremely high, which basically can send a little lightning towards someone. Once again, the drawback is that the more energy they use, the worse it becomes, and the less time they have, but still. So, after that, one last thing on it, well, the last thing on the arms, is actually a mode that's called shield. Basically, if they want to, they can basically turn part of it into, shields, basically. That are pretty tough. Not tough enough to basically stop something like a hit from All Might or something like that. Like hell. Not even 5%, not even a 5% deku would be able, no, not even a hit from 5% deku would be able to, wait, no. A hit from 5% deku would be able to break it, so it doesn't hold that much. It's still pretty tough, it's just that there's a limit to it. So, yeah. Now the last, upgrade that's in it is that each specific part of the armor is actually detachable. What I mean by detachable is kind of self-explanatory. If you want to, you can just remove a specific piece. It does have a drawback that, that part of your body isn't protected anymore, but the last part of your body, the last part of the armor you have, the less power you're using. So if you want to, you can literally just put an entire glove, or if you want to, you can put just a chest or stuff like that. Just the boots or anything, really. So, after basically them starting, Deku was basically starting to find the capacities that it had, which first thing he found was that it's basically made of plant, and that even when an entire limb is missing, it grows back. So after that, he discovered about the fireballs, which once again were basically pretty hard to miss, but still. So both him and Melissa basically learned about this new transformation. After basically learning about it, they started getting ready to basically find out how he unlocked it, because now they want to know if they can, well, if Deku can have more. Deku's pretty sure he can, well, now that this happened. So he just basically looks for it. He tries to find ways to unlock it, or actually to see how he unlocked this one. Which, spoilers, he basically just kind of unlocked it naturally. Well, as naturally as it would be. Basically think of it as when Ben unlocked Cannonbolt or Ditto. Nothing had actually touched the watch or does anything, and they just kind of unlocked. Then there's the way that he unlocked the transformation Blitzwolfer, or in the original series, Benwolf. What basically happened for that one was that while he was fighting against the wolf alien, the alien basically scratched the watch. What it did was that the watch basically collected the DNA of the wolf, then putting it in the databank. So Ben had that transformation accessible now. After basically that explanation, the reason Deku unlocked Swamp Fire, because yeah, if you didn't get that's the one, it literally just unlocked naturally. So they basically have the knowledge that Deku has more. The problem is they don't know how many more he would have. So they just think, okay, yeah, at some point, if it just unlocked like that, more are going to come. That's basically it. And so they kind of just went with it. At some point, All Might basically came back to talk with S.H.I.E.L.D. and then learned about, well, Deku and Melissa being at the same school, and what S.H.I.E.L.D. did, and about Deku's, well, extreme intelligence for a kid, which surprised All Might. So, after basically learning about that, All Might decided to try and make Deku his successor. When he tried to talk to Deku about it, well, when he did talk to Deku about it, Deku kind of just pushed the idea away. which did kind of bother All Might at first, until Deku said that he doesn't want that. So, All Might basically tried to explain to him that if he would have that power, his original quirk would be boosted, becoming even stronger and better. Which Deku told him that he doesn't really care about that. When All Might heard that, he actually had in mind, but why? He asked Deku that question, which Deku answered truthfully. He doesn't need it. If he were to give it to Melissa, she would be happy, but the moment Deku basically mentioned her, All Might said he would not give it to her. Shield doesn't want that to happen. Which Deku basically understood. So, Deku basically explained to All Might about all that they did, and the suits as well. Which All Might said, but why do you need one as well? With your work you could... And then Deku said, yeah, but I have time limits. Those suits do as well, but it's way longer. Which All Might said yes, but over time you could probably find a way to upgrade it, which Deku said, I've been trying to do it all of this time. I've never been able to even open it. I'm able to make it tall, but... And then he basically just lifted his arm up and basically said, well, basically he asked what it was. Multiple times, Deku asked for names of the aliens, and at one point he asked for the name of the watch, which it said it was the omnitrix. So Deku basically said omnitrix. Open, which nothing happened. All Might ask why he said that, well, what omnitrix is, which Deku said it's the name of that thing. Which All Might just kind of accepted, because okay, he named it. That's one thing at least. So, Deku said he can make it say the names for each of the transformation he has, but he doesn't have control over it to the point of making it do whatever he wants, which is problematic. So, All Might ask him directly what he means by name, which Deku explained that each transformations, if he asks the Omnitrix about it, it says a name. He switched and shows wait. It shows accelerate, and he says this is a Kineseleran. The only way I notice is because... And then he says Omnitrix. What is the name of this alien? Which... no, not... He says, what is this... the name of this? Which the Omnitrix respond. Species called... Kineseleran. Which All Might basically just kind of reacts like, what the hell? And before he is able to ask anything else, Shields interrupts them. And I'm going to stop it here. So, Yeah, basically, this one only explained a small part of what they did. In the next part, everything else will basically be explained, because the next part is going to be around 50 minutes, which won't be tomorrow. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do is the first part of what if Deku had Sonic's powers. It's going to be part 0 for world building. So, hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did. If you have any questions or commentary, tell me in the comment section. I'm going to read them all. So yeah, Natsu